up. It must be Thanksgiving going to their brain or something like that. Maybe you're going to do that. 'Cause we'll be out in a minute here. But in any case, let's just be a second. So in the Quran, Muslims, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and so on, the tribes, they're all Muslims because they surrendered. Muslim is equivalent here to keeper of the covenant, or if you like, we're going to hear later on that son of Zadok, or keepers of the commandments, or keepers of the covenant. Muslim, Christian, sons of Zadok, they're all equivalent usages, depending on which theology you're following. I just wanted to note that Paul and Muhammad is basically a Paulinist, though he never mentions Paul once. He uses Paul's argument about Abraham coming before the law, therefore Abraham not being saved by the law. That's Paul's argument. Paul is a good polemicist. He applies Greek dialectic to theology in the Bible, which is just a literary document. It's not a consistent theological document. Just a storybook, really. So to apply rhetoric and dialectic to that is probably, can't do that to James Joyce's Ulysses or something. In any case, Muhammad does the same thing, but he doesn't give Paul any credit. He also calls himself the apostle to the Gentiles, the apostle to the Arabs, the apostle to, I am the apostle to the Arabs, like Paul is the apostle to the peoples. He takes a lot from Paul, except Paul's not observing the law. Islam became very law-minded, as you know. I'll give you 5 more minutes here and then we'll go. Okay. So, after this, the tribes and so on, they walked in stubbornness of their heart. The stubbornness of the heart is a big illusion at Qumran, and I think we can apply it in lots of areas that you can think of. Complaining, mumbling against the commandments of God, murmuring in their tents against the commandments. I know you could speak about some murmuring later on. So I think this group is definitely anti-Paulinist if they knew of Paul. Maybe it's before Paul, so they're not, but they're definitely anti-Paulinist. Each man doing what was right in his own eyes. And they ate blood, and their males were cut off in the wilderness. That's the second blood allusion here in the Damascus. There's going to be a third. And therefore he spoke to them in Kadesh, Deuteronomy 9:23, go up and possess the land, and they murmured in their tents, and the wrath of God was kindled. Oh, that was the other one. Delivered up. So I said, watch delivered up, watch cut off. These are words you want you to watch. And their mouths were cut off, once again, cut off. And the wrath of God was kindled against their whole assembly because they murmured in their sense, and their sons perished. This is the wilderness, running through the history here. And because of that, their kings were cut off, and their mighty ones perished. Well, that's fast. The kings, everybody, the tribes, and before you know it, the land is desolate. We're in the Nebuchadnezzar period. We've covered 1,000 years in a sentence. Well, sermonizers do that. And they were, guess what, delivered up to the sword, third or second or third time. We're going to hear it about 5 other times, delivered up. Because they deserted the covenant of God and chose their own will, following after stubbornness of heart, each man doing according to his own will. But as for those who held holding fast, that's another big concept, holding fast to the commandments of God, those who remained of them, the remnant, God established his covenant with Israel forever, revealing to them the hidden things, I don't know what these are, concerning which all Israel went astray. And he opened up for them his holy Sabbaths and his glorious festivals, the testimonies of his righteousness, and the ways of his truth. Again, in Galatians, Paul calls the glorious festivals poverty-stricken. Now, I don't say he's wrong. I'm just showing you you can be whatever side of this issue you want. I just want to show you the opposites here. I think he says here in Galatians here, he's talking about circumcision. He's all worked up about circumcision constantly. I don't know if I can find it here in 2. Where's 3? And look here, line 7 here of chapter 4, I guess it is. So that you are no longer a slave, but a son. We know what he means by slave. And if a son, also an heir of God through Christ. But then indeed, not knowing God, you were a slave to those who by nature are not gods. You see, you were a slave to those people, the circumcision party. But now that you have known God, and here's his using of Greek rhetoric, it's in the Greek ode that you have thesis, antithesis, and I think it's called epod, right? You go back and then forth and then conclude. But now that you have known God, or rather you have been known by God, how can you turn again to the weak and poor principles to which you again desire to be enslaved? The beggarly, he's playing on the poor here, that you want to slave, that's the law, all the weak and beggarly principles. You carefully keep days and months and times and years. I am afraid of you for fear that somehow I've labored in vain regarding you. So the beggarly principles, you see, are include those things here that are considered to be good or bad, and you have to choose what's going on. His holy Sabbaths, his glorious festivals. The testimonies of his righteousness, the ways of his truth. There couldn't be two more opposite documents. What a man must do in order to live through them. Paul, it's living through Christ. Here it's living through doing the works. Now, I admit the other's more poetic. I'm not saying that one is not more beautiful. Just saying one is the total opposite of the other. In case you were not aware of that. But they immersed themselves in punishable sin in the ways of uncleanness. And they said that this way is ours. But God in his marvelous mysteries atoned for their sin. How, I'm not sure. And forgave them their iniquities. And he built for them a house of faith in Israel, the likes of which has never stood from ancient time until now. And for them that hold fast to it, there will be victorious life, and all the glory of Adam will be theirs. So, there's going to be eternal life for them that hold fast to this house of faith in Israel. And that has never stood from ancient time till now. And now you have here, I think, another doctrine from the Ebionite pseudo-Clementine type of orientation. That is the primal Adam ideology. All the glory of Adam will be theirs. It's repeated several times. Watch for Adam here. It's a kind of Ebionite conception. The primal Adam in the pseudo-Clementine literature is a kind of incarnationism that goes from one individual to another. Let me spit on this like spitting in the ears here. Okay. I can't get it. That's for you. Here it is. I'll spit on the chalk here.